We are celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary. 40 long years. Stay tuned. Hi, and welcome to my channel. I've got Dave with me again.
Hi, everyone.
Tomorrow will be our 40th wedding anniversary.
Woo!
How did we make it for 40 years?
Only from the grace of God.
I have to agree to that. It's a big milestone, though, and we're celebrating already. We're not going to be doing anything special. We don't go out to dinner. We don't go anywhere. We just keep enjoying our very simple life.
We must be two simple people.
I think we are.
Evidently.
So I thought we would talk a little bit about what it takes to stay married 40 years. Because it does take something. It does not come easy. And to me, the most important thing is intimacy.
Absolutely.
You agree with that?
I do agree with that.
Now, I'm not talking physical intimacy. There is physical intimacy in a relationship. There is emotional intimacy. And there is spiritual intimacy, which I personally feel that is the most important to keep the glue in your marriage.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Now, I'm not saying that we started out this way, because I think every young couple in the beginning, you're young, you're in love and all that stuff, and it takes work, it takes time, it takes really getting to know each other. And that can take several years.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're not always vulnerable with each other as husbands and wives. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
I know I wasn't vulnerable because I had a lot of trust issues from my previous marriage. And Dave, you weren't vulnerable,
right,
because of your childhood.
Right.
So we both had issues, and it took a long time to work through all that and truly become vulnerable with each other, let our guards down, and become true partners in every sense of the word.
Amen.
And as far as intimacy goes, which I think is the key ingredient to a good, long-lasting marriage. As far as physical intimacy, you cannot rely on that.
No.
Because that is not going to be the same, 40 years down the road as it was from the very beginning.
Things change.
Things change due to health reasons, mobility reasons, age-related conditions, etc. You could get to a point where you can't share that type of physical intimacy. So then what do you have left? If you don't have the emotional and the spiritual intimacy, you don't have anything.
I agree. But I think too, it's you're talking about the spiritual. Yeah, I think it's so important and vital for spouses, partners to pray together, to spend time together in God's Word, to be able to grow closer and more intimate with that. It's important.
Oh, I think that's the tops.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can get any more intimate than that, in my opinion.
I agree.
And long-term commitments and relationships require so much more than just chemistry.
Boy, do they ever.
And I think when you're young, you have no idea. You just don't understand that, which is perfectly normal.
Very normal.
Because true intimacy is a deep connection to another person where you feel that you can share everything. You can share your thoughts, your feelings, your fears, and it's just a one-on-one type thing.
And I think it's vital because women are easier at communication than men are. There's no question about that. And I think men a lot of times hold things in and don't share as freely.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes as couples, you think you know your partner, you think you know what's in your partner's mind. Mm-hmm. But then you find out, 10, 15, 20 years after you've been married, they go, well, I hate your meatloaf, and well, I don't like your whatever, and you snore too much, and all those things start coming up that weren't talked about, early on in the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you truly do become one when you have those components to intimacy.
Sure.
I think it's an absolute must. And
I think too, like we've talked about, we've witnessed other relationships where one person becomes ill or has a, whatever it may be, a disease, or let's say they were in a car accident and they lost their legs, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the marriage ends. The other spouse just wants a divorce because they can't handle it, or they say it's too much or too much of a burden, or whatever the case may be. And oh my gosh, it's just so sad to me, because it's like, well, then what did you really have? What was there? What was your marriage built on? If it was just built on physical, did you really think that was going to last you forever? That there wasn't going to be things that come up?
Without those other components of intimacy, you wouldn't be there for somebody.
No.
You have to be in it 100%.
Absolutely.
In sickness and in health, and in everything else. It's a 100% commitment and a deep love. And I don't think you can have that level of love if you do not have the spiritual intimacy and the emotional intimacy.
Sure. And I think it's important too, because at least I've noticed anyway, that with our children and now with our grandchildren, it's like I think they've learned so much from us, and that we have things we have to even talk about or share. Meaning, they saw our relationship. Yes. They saw how much fun we've had together and how joyful we are. And that, so they're carrying that on now to their own families, I believe, and their children. One of the keys that I can think of is, gosh, it sounds simple, but constantly saying, I love you.
Yes.
And hugging each other and giving each other a kiss and holding hands in public and showing those little displays of affection that, your people around you notice that and they can see it.
And there's such a big difference than just out of habit saying, I love you.
Right.
Than it truly coming from your heart.
Right.
Because you feel it and your partner feels the same thing. That makes a big difference too.
It sure does. And taking that time, we are all busy. We know that. But my goodness, how wonderful is it when your partner just sends you just a little text during the day.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, just to say, I miss you, I love you, you're the most important thing to me in this world. I think we forget how vital and important those little things are each day that really show the other person how much we love them.
Well, that is something that is very romantic to me. It's not flowers
Right.
and a candlelit dinner or something like that.
Nope.
It's those little things. It's receiving those texts. It's you grabbing
Sure.
my hand and holding it. That's romantic to me.
Yeah, I mean, these, like I said, again, we've seen it over the years, but, people who only really show that during Valentine's Day and,
Yeah.
these holidays and all this stuff. And it's like, well, there's a lot more than just 1 or 2 or 3 days a year,
Yes.
to fill your calendar with.
And to me, there's no way that you can have a successful marriage unless God is at the center of it.
For you and I, we know that's the truth.
We know that absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%.
So here's to 40 more years.
Oh, I hope so.
I do too.
I really do.
70, 80, 90, 100. Geez, I'll be 110 or 111. But we'll be married forever in eternity
Absolutely.
and in each other's hearts. And that's why you have to treasure every day. Make the best of your marriage.
Yeah.
The little trivial things really don't matter in the end. I mean, the things that get on your nerves or pet peeves that one person does or the other, they really don't matter.
And I have my share.
You mean of what I do?
No!
Oh,
You take pictures constantly to show me. How many people get up in the morning and then get their coffee and a Danish and get back in bed and then fall asleep holding their Danish
Yes.
and their cup of coffee?
he does, and I do take pictures to prove to him what he's doing.
Oh, gosh.
But we laugh about it. It's fun. It's to torment each other and
It is.
laugh. And laughter is a big part of a relationship also.
Oh, it is.
So I guess my final advice on how to have a long-lasting marriage is keep God at the head of your marriage. Make sure you have a very strong emotional, supportive connection and have that spiritual intimacy as the number one intimacy in your life. What's your final advice? Anything other than what I said?
Just enjoy the ride. I mean,
Yeah.
enjoy the fun and the times together. There's always peaks and valleys in every relationship. Everybody has arguments and disagreements, and it happens in a marriage, but that's okay as long as you are able to come back together and still say, I love you enough that I'm willing to work on this no matter how long it takes
Yeah.
in order to help us have a better relationship. And so many times, that selfishness and what about me and, all that stuff falls into play when it really should not.
Right.
But it does. I think a lot of people now want to get married, but somehow they want to keep it separate. Like they still have their own separate lives and
I
separate
know.
bank accounts and separate everything. And it's like, well, why'd you get married? I mean, I don't get that.
Well, I
So-
don't agree with that just because how can you truly become one
Yeah.
if you're separate?
Yeah.
You can't be separate and live separate lives and be one. At
Right.
least that's an opinion of an old girl.
Sure. It doesn't mean you still can't have your own friends.
Sure, absolutely.
Because that's important to be able
Yes.
to. The guys go out with the guys, girls go do things with the girls. That's all important too.
Yeah.
But for us anyway, it's like we do that, but then when we come back, we're excited to talk about what we did and,
Yeah.
and what happened and the different things that we did that evening. But then we always, in my mind anyway, I'm always thinking, well, I wish she was here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really all I can tell you on how we have managed to stay married 40 years and actually enjoy it.
It goes by so quick, guys.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I mean, wow. 40 years. It's like, what happened?
I know.
What happened? I don't know. It's unreal.
And truthfully, I've been married 53 years out of my 71 years because I was married once before. So I've been married since I was 18 years old. Wow. That's how I spent my life. But that's okay. I have truly loved these 40 years.
No, I've loved them too, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's time to leave you with an inside beauty tip. Well, like I normally do when I have a guest, which is you, Dave, I let you do the beauty tip.
Okay.
So what do you got for us?
Ephesians 5:21. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ.
Oh, that's a perfect tip. I love that.
Well, thank you.
I'll tell you what that means to me, and then you say what it means to you.
Okay.
I know a lot of people have problems with that word, submit to one another. Well, I think they have a problem with wives submit to your husbands, and husbands
Sure.
submit to your wife and things like that. They don't like that. Mm-hmm. But if you really read it, and you can read the whole Ephesians 5:21 through 33, it says submit to one another. It's not one-sided.
Right.
And that's why I don't have a problem with it, because if you have the love and respect for each other that you're supposed to have, then you do submit to each other. Mm-hmm. It's not, well, it's going to be my way because I'm head of the household.
Sure.
Or me saying, well, you're supposed to love me like Christ loved the church. So if you love me enough, you're going to let it be my way. And it doesn't work that way.
No.
You come together and make a decision out of mutual love and respect for each other. You talk it out. You work it out. You both give. You both submit. And that's what it means to me.
No, I agree 100%. I think people get it totally messed up.
Yeah.
They don't understand it. I've met people over my lifetime who, quite literally, men especially, have that attitude of like, well, it's my wife. They should submit to me. And I just look at them like, oh, whatever,
Well, because
you don't get it.
Yeah, they're missing that part, their part. That yes, the Bible does say that, but it also says to men, love your wife as Christ loved the church.
And that's huge.
It truly is.
I mean, come on, guys. How many people can look at their lives and their marriages and say that? I mean,
Yes.
That is gigantic.
And there does have to be a head of the household.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that's you. However, you don't use it to your advantage.
No.
And you use it in a leadership role. You lead our family. You lead us as a couple.
Well, I've always taught that to our children and their grandchildren, that
Yes.
people just don't automatically get respect. It's
Right.
like there are so many people out there who act like, well, you should respect me because I'm your elder or whatever. You earn respect.
Yes.
You earn it. You earn it by your deeds, how you lead your
Yes.
family. That's what garners you that respect from others.
And that respect has to go both ways.
Absolutely.
So if you have that mutual respect, you won't look at that in a negative light at all. In fact, my gosh, you can resolve everything. You can work out every decision so easily.
Sure. Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much for doing this video. and for giving that wonderful beauty
You're
tip.
welcome.
It just ties right into it.
You're absolutely welcome.
And thank you for 40 years.
40 long years.
Well, until we meet again, this is the old girl
And this is the old guy.
signing out. See ya.
Bye, everybody.